see the soil resources. And today we shall be discussing the final type of soil, that is a mountain soil, in detail. And later on we will be discussing about what is the soil erosion and how we can try to prevent the soil erosion in an effective way, and that will be the end of the lesson. I hope that whatever we have discussed you understood in a proper way, and at the end of this lesson you will be able to recognize the types of soils along with its areas and the crops cultivated throughout the soils. Plus we will be just understanding the characteristics. So from the examination point of view, you have to prepare the type of soils, its characteristics, where they are, and what type of soils are grown in an objective way. I hope that you will just try to remember these points and prepare the lesson in the same way. Let's try to study the mountain soil in detail later on. Soil erosion and soil conservation. Mountain soils. These soils are mainly found in the hill slopes and valleys of the Great Himalayas, and these soils are generally found at a height of 2100 meters to 3000 meters. And when they are formed by the deposition of organic matter that comes from the woodlands and forest. Now when you look at to the mountainous areas, especially Himalayas or any mountainous areas, there we can find out the huge variety. Among the vast varieties of the soil that are found on the mountainous areas, the most important soil, that is mountain soil, that occupies the largest area on the mountain, so it is called as mountain soil. The basic characteristics of these mountain soils are mainly dependent on the climatic conditions available there, and these types of soils are mainly found in warm temperate belt or the cold temperate belt of the Himalayan mountain regions. So these are some of the basic information of the mountain soil. Let's try to take a look at the characteristics for better understanding. The mountain soils are different in textures, and these are found across the slopes of the river valleys. So as they are finding mostly across the river valleys, the texture is a bit different. Mainly the fine textured soils can find out in river valleys or somewhere in outwash plains. Mountain soils are generally combined of stony or they are shallow in depth. These soils are generally poor in organic matters and also immature, in the sense these soils are not good enough for the cultivation. And these soils have a very wide ratio of carbon and nitrogen in it. Also they are salty from loam to loam in texture. These soils colors are mostly dark brown and they are mostly acidic in nature to moderately acidic. And last one, these soils deprived in lime and potash content. So generally we can see the mountain soil is not supporting for the good cultivation, but then too some other types of crops which are suitable in this soil can be easily grown. Now mountain soil, as we have learned that it differs according to the height. So here it is divided widely into the two main groups. First one is a podzol. Let's try to find out what are those soils and where we could find them. The podzol type of soils can be easily found in the mid-altitudinal zone of Himalayas, and these soils are formed in the cool, wet, temperate zone where we have the coniferous forest, and these coniferous forests are generally Deodar, Cheer and Blue Pine, and that could easily be found in Assam, Darjeeling, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh and Kashmir. So mainly in the Himalayan regions nearby coniferous forest. Next category of mountain soil is high altitude soil, and these soils are varied in nature just like They are called somewhere as a brown earth type, somewhere there are red loam, somewhere there are renzina. This means the fertile soil which is having rich lime content. One more type of soil, that is a glee. It is a sticky waterlogged soil, and mostly these type of or varieties are mainly depending upon the forest cover in that areas, especially the rocky surface. Also, more rocky surface, another type of soil. Less rocky surface, you will find out some changes into the soil along with the slope of the land and the amount of rainfall received in that areas. Now this type of mountain soil is a highly leached soil. We have already learnt what is the leached soil, and we have already learned the characteristics of that. Find out the name of the leached soil along with this. And it is also acidic in reactions, and this soil is very less fertile. Alpine meadows, in the sense the grassland type, alpine coniferous forest or coniferous trees. So alpine meadow type of soil is a dark colored and also thin, and that is mainly found in alpine zone of the Himalayas, where there is a lots of coniferous forest are also available. So this type of soil is basically sandy and contains undecomposed plants. At a very high altitude, the subsoil surface of the frozen areas remains under snow, so the soil is generally immature. If you try to go high altitude in the Himalayas where there is a lots of snowfall and it remains frozen throughout the year, so the soil under this snow is generally frozen. That's why it is immature soil. So that we can find out in high altitude soils. Let's try to take a look at the regions where we could find out these mountain soils. These mountain soils are generally located in dry and cold districts, especially in Ladakh, in Lahul and the Spiti districts and the Kinnur districts, where we can have the lots of cold and dry areas. And mostly the mountain soils are found in the Himalayas, as we have already discussed. The Himalayan regions are Sikkim, Assam, Arunachal Pradesh and Kashmir. So mainly the mountainous areas of the Himalayas where we can find it out this type of soil. Also in the peninsula of South India, the Eastern Ghats and the summits of Sahyadris in the Western Ghats. So these are also occupied by the forest or mountains. So here also possibility is there to find the mountain soils. And what type of crops can be grown in the mountain soils? The various types of crops can be cultivated on the mountain soils like coffee, tea, wheat, maize, barley, tropical fruits and the various types of species. Generally, rather than this, if you have the scientific management of the soil, there are right conservations and keeping the fertility through biomanures would further help in conservation of mountain soils. Means if you have the proper management of that soil and if we follow some conservation methods, we can easily improve the fertility with the biomanures, and these soils can be brought widely under cultivation. And this is how the types of soils in India we have discussed thoroughly. That's the end of all the types of soils in India. In the next part, we will be discussing about the soil erosion and conservation of soil. Now we'll be discussing about soil erosion because that is concerned with the soils we have studied through, and it is important concept. What is the soil erosion means? Soil erosion means the removal of top soil by different agents like water, wind, waves, or even landslide. The soil forming process and erosional process, these are two continuous processes, and when these processes are going on the earth, there should be balance between these two. And if there is no proper balance maintained, then either we can face the adverse effect of that. For example, if the balance of these two is disturbed by the natural or the human factors, that can lead to the greater rate of removal of topsoil, and that we have seen in a few years that the most of the soil has become infertile or barren due to the lots of soil erosion taken place in that particular area. So there should be balance maintained between the soil formation and the erosional process, so the soil can be good enough and it will be fertile for the crops and the cultivations. Then, when the soil erosion takes place in the particular area, that is not same everywhere. So according to the process, we have the types of soil erosions, and these types of soil erosions are caused by the different agents. Example, here we can try to study in detail. The wind and the running waters are the powerful agents of soil erosions, but at the same time, here we can have overgrazing by man, by plants, and by animals. Some faulty methods of agriculture, these are also responsible for eroding or removal of the valuable topsoil. And according to the agents, there are some variations in the soil erosions, and that causes to have the different types of soil erosions, and we are going to discuss now. Let's study the types of soil erosion in detail.